Ladies and gents, welcome to CG Reaction, and this is Casually Explained, Being Healthy, by the channel Casually Explained. The weakest of wills require the strongest of hearts. Thank you, Sam, for big leg. Joke that I stole without asking. Okay. Yeah. Casually Explained is a great channel like Salmonella. I don't know. It's weird to compare channels, but it's something like the animated channel that tackles topics. It's just, yeah, it's fun. I reacted to some video from this channel already. If you haven't seen them, check out the link in the description. It's there somewhere. Check out the cast for different playlists like, Salmonella Academy, CGP Grey, Internet Historian, Only Sarcastic Production. And yeah, let's watch this one.
Well, it's pretty common knowledge that certain foods are healthy and others aren't so much. It's pretty rare that you ever get an explanation as to why. And one thing that bothers me quite a bit is when someone says to eat something because it's good for you or it's a superfood. And almost universally what that really translates to is it grows in nature. Ironically, half the time...
No, it's not like that. I mean, look, the thing is, some food has bad fat. Obviously, that's bad, And if you have, some burgers and things like that, French fries and things like that, fried food have lots of bad fats in it, less, fiber, less vitamins. So overall, in that sense, it's bad. And whenever somebody says something is superfood, they are exaggerating things. It just means it has more vitamins and minerals in it than generally. I think whenever people, talk about eating healthy, they exaggerate a lot. There's a placebo effect thing going in the culture. Basically, people even pick and choose between natural food like fruits and greenery, every vegetables and things, like even that vegetable is not good, this is even better. Man, no, that's not how things work. Chill out. So I think that everything should be in moderation. There are people who basically seize fried food and run out of the room. I think that's a bit extreme. There's no need for anything like that. But yeah, eating healthy eventually will make you, I guess, overall feel good, overall healthy. I'm speaking from experience. I used to eat lots of fried food, obviously. I was active from the start, I worked out a lot, also high intensity workout and things like that. So I never got fat because of it. Eating lots of cheese and, fried food, not that fat, somewhat, obviously you can stop that. But that wasn't the issue. I was overall muscular and I was still fine. But I was just had this, basically this tired feeling all day. I wasn't feeling good. As soon as I started eating healthy, and not just healthy, and it's like just eat vegetables and just eat fruit. And don't even touch something like fried or anything. Never even go close to that. Don't even look at cheese. Nothing like that. Just, most of the time relatively eating healthy. When I started doing that, my energy levels were high. I wasn't getting tired a lot. I was just active all around. But there are people who exaggerate things like, I want a keto diet, I want no carbs, no fat, lots of protein. And people have lots of, go extreme ways thinking they are being healthy. I don't know which video I saw. I think it was Bill Maher's video. I mean, whatever your opinion is about him, he was just stating facts. That there are certain health people who were, I guess, the pioneer of these things, like eating healthy. Their diet consists of just pure healthy things, like green vegetables and things like that. All of them died in their 60s. While people who drank lots of beer, ate lots of cheese, burgers and pizzas and God knows what, lived past their 70s and even into their 80s. Donald Trump eats McDonald's all the time. He's in his 70s. So it's not like that. If you go extreme either way, even if you go extreme healthy food, you're still gonna get screwed, because even the fats have their places. Fats are good, carbs are good, so is protein, but in moderation. You need to understand how much to eat what. So people go extreme in lots of places. That's the biggest issue. Otherwise, if you're in moderation and just eat in moderation, not just what you eat but also eat in moderation. If you just chuck food in, doesn't matter what you eat, you're gonna have an issue. And if you eat really bad fats and fried food all the time, like 4 or 5 times a day, every day, I mean, obviously that's going to cause an issue. So, just eating relatively healthy is good, but this is a superfood. You should only eat this. You should never even go close to this food. That's exaggeration.
It only grows in nature because we've selectively bred it over thousands of years to be that way. And when half of our leading sources of nutrition advice are Pinterest recipes, a lot of what we consider common knowledge is actually completely made up. As an example,
Yeah.
one of the most common terms you'll see online with regards to healthy food is that something gets rid of toxins in your body, which
That's
really
bullshit.
doesn't make any sense. If your body is filled with toxins in certain foods,
All right, this result thing, that's not accurate. I mean, anything, containing these words, detox, food, health, or whatever, detox or food, anything related to food would get add on, anything related to detox will get add on. That's not the point. But yeah, detoxing your body. I mean, come on, man. Maybe, sure, but yeah, this is one of those things. Like I said, people go over the top with things.
remove them, then that means we could have brought back Steve Irwin with a blueberry smoothie. In reality, almost all supplements or foods that get rid of toxins are really just laxatives or diuretics, so it makes you feel like they're somehow flushing something away, when in reality you could have just put 3 shots of vodka in your latte like a regular person. The next thing you'll often run into are online recipes.
And lots of time it's a placebo effect, man. People just eat healthy, they're like, oh, I'm feeling healthy already. No, food doesn't work that fast. What's happening is placebo. You're thinking you're healthy. Most time it's all placebo effect. And what happens is, most of the time people, when they switch to vegetables and fruit, obviously fried foods and heavy foods have more calories compared to the vegetables and fruits. So whenever people switch to healthy foods, most of the time they're just letting less calorie in. And averagely humans always eat more than they should. When you do that, you get less fat and overall healthy anyway. So yeah, it's no point of going extreme.
For anything made overnight in a mason jar, telling you you're not getting enough antioxidants. And one of the ways you can tell if you're not getting enough antioxidants is by looking at your skin and seeing if it's starting to rust. And while they do play a role in your body, the problem with suggesting that you should consume more is that it's fundamentally like saying the more oil you have in your car, the less likely it is to break down, which is not true, because too much actually makes things worse.
Yeah, if you put too much oil, the engine's gonna get screwed.
The good news is that you do have too much oil in your car. You can add the excess to your overnight oats because motor oil is also high in antioxidants. Another common idea that's recently started to shift is that you should never skip breakfast, which there is absolutely no scientific basis for, except that breakfast food is my favorite. I think the funny thing is that when I used to tell people I skipped breakfast, they thought I was crazy, but now I can say, I'm doing intermittent fasting, and they're like, oh, very disciplined.
What the fuck? First of all, you should never skip breakfast, because if you don't eat something after fast, the entire night you don't eat anything, so it's a fast. So break fast. If you don't eat anything, you cannot break your fast, so your metabolism doesn't start. So it's in the long run that's not helping you. If you eat something, your metabolism starts, you basically burn more fat than otherwise you would have. That's it. That's not important either. If your overall day's diet is about right, you don't need to. There are lots of people who don't eat anything until, I guess, it's lunchtime. They just fast like that, and then after lunch they eat lots of calories, work out, and they are ripped and shredded. So it depends, but averagely it's good to eat something. Just eat some fruit.
When in reality, I just woke up at noon. Relatedly, the next thing that's often incredibly misunderstood is diet, especially with things like paleo, keto, intermittent fasting, and varying degrees of vegetarianism becoming so popular. We've all heard limitless jokes about, how do you know if someone is a vegan? Because they'll tell you, ha ha ha, classic comedy. But that's not even the case anymore. I see way more people on low-carb ketogenic diets post things on the internet like, look at this fool I saw today, eating an apple like an absolute normie, as they show off their Costco haul of pork rinds and butter. The most important thing to know is that generally speaking, weight is regulated by calorie intake, so you have a certain amount of calories you burn in a day, and if you repeatedly intake more than that, you'll gain weight, and if you intake less than that, you'll lose weight. As a quick disclaimer, the exact amount of calories absorbed from food isn't always 100%, which is why some people claim calories in, calories out isn't true, but being more exact, calories metabolized and absorbed minus calories burned always is true. Now, for the average person,
I mean, if you consume less energy than you burn, then you will basically start to burn out your fat storages. That's basic science. In the end, how your metabolism is going on at the day, how much you food at, and how much calorie those food at, it's not completely accurate. So completely like, oh, I need to eat, I guess, 2600 and 2650 calories exact. I mean, no, just chill out. You cannot regulate like that. I mean, there are lots of big athletes who are healthy and ripped. Basically says that I know general park around where I consume calories, but I never count at that extreme level. And most people don't do that. You shouldn't do that. If you're counting calories too much, you're paying way too much attention to that. That's not sustainable. Eventually, you will get tired and you will like, screw this. I'm not on any diet. And diet, I mean, keto, this and that. Look, there are people who says don't eat any carbs, just eat fats and proteins. First of all, if you don't eat any carbs, entire day you feel like shit, because carbs are needed if you want to be energized. Same thing is like if you don't eat fat, there are lots of hormones that are basically gonna have an issues. If you want to regulate your testosterone, you need certain level of fats in you. So just saying that one is bad, another is good. No, everything's good, but in moderation. If you abuse anything, then nothing is good.
And the amount of calories burned is around 2,000 to 2,500 calories a day. Then the generally accepted rule is that there is 3,500 calories in a pound of body fat. So say you wanted to get thick because it's 2019, you would have to eat roughly 500 calories above your daily maintenance for 71 days to gain 10 pounds. Then if we look at the composition of food itself, all food is made up of 3 primary macronutrients that serve a different bodily function, and each has a different caloric value. We have fat, which has 9 calories per gram, protein, which has 4 calories per gram, and carbohydrates, which have 4 calories per gram as well. And then there's a 4th bonus macronutrient, alcohol, which has 7 calories per gram. As for their physiological roles, loosely speaking, fat regulates hormones and stops your cells from imploding. Protein is for bodily function and muscular regeneration. Carbohydrates are primarily for aerobic and anaerobic activity. And then alcohol, which sadly just poisons you. The good news is that because too much alcohol is toxic, if your friend is passed out...
Yeah, alcohol basically keeps you from going insane. So it's good for your brain, I guess.
The club bathroom, you can flush out the alcohol by popping a blueberry under their tongue, just like a sensu bean. Below that, we have fiber and micronutrients, which are all your vitamins and minerals. Just make sure you get enough of these or your teeth will fall out. Now, with these fundamentals in mind, if we start to take a look at all the popular and successful diets out there nowadays, the fact of the matter is that almost all of them have good points, but they also all have bad points. Meaning that you're not an enlightened member of the nutritional Illuminati just because you stopped eating bread. And if we take a look at all the most common diets that cover the full spectrum of plant-based to animal-based, we can see they all have pros and cons. Veganism is sustainable and very nice to the animals, but it's a bit harder to get the right macronutrients, and you constantly have to wonder if your friends don't want you for dinner because of your dietary restrictions or just your personality. Vegetarianism is sustainable and nice to the animals, but limited food choices. Paleo diets are good for weight loss.
God, he's so true there. I'm a vegetarian, and I know how much annoyance it is to get enough protein. I mean, I have to rely on dairy if I want any protein. Otherwise, people say, oh, there is this many protein in spinach. Okay, how much spinach are you going to eat? There are this many proteins in lentils. Okay, how much of that you're going to eat? Do you know how much carbs is in that? If I want to get enough protein from that, my carbs are going to shoot through the roof, and I don't think I can eat that much. So I have to rely on dairy. So being vegetarian, it is really a hard thing to do. I've always been vegetarian my whole life. I can't just start eating non-vegetarian things now. That's the issue. So I envy sometimes people who are non-vegetarian, who can just eat a chicken or something and get like 40 or 50 grams of protein. And I have to rely on supplements and basically dairy.
But again, limited food choice. Ketogenic diets, very good for weight loss because it massively regulates blood sugar, which affects cravings and appetite, but it's extremely limiting in terms of food choice. Not very good for anyone doing anaerobic sports because...
Yeah, keto doesn't just mean that. I think keto, no carbs, right? So no carbs means you're not going to be energized all day. If you have a stressful job or anything, I'm pretty sure it's going to have an issue in your mental state too. Your anxiety is going to be there because you need carbs for energy, feel good. Basically hormones are also, I think, relies on carbs. So just be having a fat thing, just fat diet, and not having any carbs, because that basically spikes your blood sugar level, so you don't get fat. I mean, that works at the start, but in the end, if you just want to be healthy for a long time, just check your calories. If you're consuming less calorie than you're burning, you're going to be fine. No reason to switch to keto or whatever. I mean, restricting yourself for something like no carbs or even no fats is going to have issues along the way. It's not good.
There are no available carbohydrates, but it's actually not bad if you run ultra marathons. So next time you go for a 100-mile run, make sure to bring your pepperoni holster. Carnivorous diets, these ones are a bit weird and they're very unsustainable, but very good for weight loss and autoimmune disorders / arthritis / certain types of depression. And while there have been some pretty miraculous anecdotes, the downside is that it has not been well studied long term, and everyone at the restaurant will think you're a serial killer as you peel the breading off your KFC family bucket.
Okay, carnivorous, I think Brock Lesnar used to have a diet like that. Then he had diverticulosis in the stomach and his colon or something was removed. So I don't think that's good either. Then he started to eat green vegetables just as a supplement. So this doesn't happen. I mean, he still eats all that, but now he also adds vegetables. So just being carnivorous is not good.
For some reason, the community is also really involved with cryptocurrency. So if anyone was actually the nutritional Illuminati, this would be it. And then finally, the classic, if it fits your macros, which means eating whatever you want as long as it fits within a designated calorie limit and matches the amount of protein, fat, and carbohydrates you've allotted. This is common for athletes and people who want to be bodybuilders, but in the 7 years they've been going to the gym, they've only made 2 years worth of progress.
Okay, not 7 years, but okay. When I started to work out, I think first 2 years just I wasted just getting, basically trying to understand things, and then I started to make progress. I mean, obviously I made progress, not at the level I should have. Everybody wastes times at the start. So yeah, and just basically just burn more calories than you take in. That should be your thumb rule, because if you try to count it, how many carbs does that, how many fat does that, how many protein does that have, I mean, that's not going to be a long-term thing. You will get tired out a lot. And you just need to check your protein if you want to just have an overall good health and muscular structure. Just check your protein. Carbs and fats could go up and down. It's going to be fine. It's not, that bad if you just check your calories. I mean, you don't even have to check calories, maybe at the start. But once you get a good gist of like how much you should eat to have just enough calorie that you're not going to get fat, you don't even have to count calories. You just know.
Speaking of the gym, there are also a few misconceptions when it comes to exercise, and one of the most common jokes you hear in weightlifting communities is making fun of people who say, "I'm just looking to tone." Because the only two variables to your physical appearance is the volume of muscle you have and the volume of fat you have. It's also incredibly difficult to gain muscle, so you'll often hear girls and even guys say, "I'm worried that if I start lifting weights, I'll get too big." And unfortunately, the thing is, no matter how much you believe you're an anime protagonist, it just isn't going to happen.
Yeah.
Ultimately, there are two main ways of improving your physical health through exercise, which are strength training and cardiovascular training. In other words, how strong is your bod and how strong is your heart and lungs. And while even 30 minutes to an hour of walking a day is enough to make sure everything keeps working, further training at the gym is not only a good idea, it's a lifestyle where you can lift a heavy thing now so you can be in pain for a while and then lift a slightly heavier thing later, or ski on the elliptical until exhaustion so that once your heart eventually recovers, you'll have more love to give.
Yeah, when it comes to workout, there are some people who just lift and does nothing else. No high intensity cardio or anything like that. People like that will get really thick, really big. Yeah, they will look intimidating big, but they just, climb one stair and second, you see that they're starting to, just get exhausted. They can barely walk now. I mean, is that really, does those muscles have anything then? I mean, what's the point of that? So nowadays, the trend is basically all around the world, they build a muscle but also have high intensity cardios or anything like that, high intensity workouts. So you have that cardiovascular edge and you have that intensity basically. So even if you basically you have to hike basically a mountain and you've never done that before, you can do that because you do lots of high intensity workout, and you're also strong because you're muscle. And then when it comes to basically, like I said, food, don't go too crazy for anything. I mean, there is always an article, scientists just discover this makes you this percent less fat and it's just good for your heart. Man, just chill out. Everything's good for your heart. Just don't eat too much processed food, too much fried food, too much cheese. Don't just stop eating that. That's not good either. Everything has a place, but just, limit things. And if you just eat less calorie than you burn out, I mean, it's a simple math. Once you have a grasp on that, you don't have to count anything. You just know how much you're supposed to eat and how much you work out. Right, people, that was casually explaining being healthy. If you like my Rickson food, like and subscribe, check out the Rickson. There's a link in the description. Check out the cast of the playlist, check out the end cards, and I'll see you next time.